Hey, it's Chris, Liege Games. Let's do this. So, you guys liked it last month. Let's do a couple quick hits. Beginning of March, what did I play in February? Quick reviews, 1 to 2 minute synopsis, thoughts, early impressions, quick impressions of things that I played in February as a whole. Now, this is not clearly as extensive as January. January was off the charts, tons of games. Now, this is only about 9 different games. Games that you may have heard of, games that you may not have heard of. Some new, some hotness, some upcoming Kickstarter, some currently funding, some classics revisited. So, let's just get right into it. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? I mean, let's do this. A couple of these, full disclaimer, will have full videos in the next week or two, or have just recently also come out, one of them. So, as always, if you like that, click, comment, subscribe, algorithm, blah, 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 blah. I have a Patreon, blah, 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 blah. Let's do this. First up, well, I got back to the Loop. I've said that this is one of my top games from 2020. It still gets played all the time around here. Not nearly as much as it should, just by the dearth of my collection in and of itself. But this game is still amazing. This game is still hard. It's still random. It's still fun. It's still loopy chaosness. And I love it. And I have Dr. Fu. So again, why am I so excited about this game? Because very, 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 very shortly, if not at the time of this, or very shortly after, I happen to have a copy of Revenge of Fauxzilla. And I will be having my review, my impressions, and full playthroughs, or close to full playthroughs, of both of the new modes that are included in this game, talking about the new powers, the new difficulties, and the fact that it's sort of more modularity, so you can just kind of choose which game mode you want. Do you want to do one of the old game modes? Do you want to do one of the new game modes? You get to mix in the new characters. Again, if you like the Loop, and even if the Loop was too easy for you, if you're one of those people, I guarantee you that one of these modes is going to be much, much more difficult for you, and you should be excited when this comes out in the next month or two from Pandasaurus. I forget exactly when. I think April-ish, but again, great, great, great already first impressions. So that was the first game. Now, the most played game of the month, which has earned a place in my forever collection as well, and this is Regicide. It's just a great game. I understand why people like it. Now, again, you can play this with a complete deck of cards. You do not need to buy this game. But Badgers from Mars, if you want to support them, you buy their game. Again, there are some issues about, the where you're going to get it from. That's a whole nother issue. But if you can buy it off someone secondary, again, full worth it. The rules are on Board Game Geek. This is a very, very, very tough game. Like, it takes a lot of effort and talent to get very far in this game, as you're battling through the jacks, the queens, and the kings, and the suits that have special powers both for you and negated by the suits that you're fighting against, and the combination of cards and how clever you can be, and when do you not want to attack and when do you want to attack. We played this 7 times in less than 24 hours. So that's how good. I got one of my non-board game playing brother-in-laws to play it with us, and he's like, I don't like this. Let's play again. Oh, this game is awful. Let's play it again. It's one of those games. And so if you have people like that in your life, this is a great game to introduce them to, period. Next up, I mean, we have to talk about it, right? Kingdoms Forlorn. I played Kingdoms Forlorn. Played it a couple times. Got through it. Went through both sections. Delve, dungeon crawl-esque KDM style. And the Delve, again, I really like the Delve. Some people are not going to like the Delve. Some people just want the KDM. If you want one or the other, go look elsewhere. It's going to be too expensive for what it is. I don't think there's a question right now of, is this going to be a bad game? No. The question is going to be, is this game for you? It's going to be expensive. It's going to be more of a lifestyle-ish game. Do you have something else like this? Do you have Tainted Grail? Do you have Aetherfields? Do you have ISS Vanguard? Do you have Aeon Trespass Odyssey coming? Because, any of these lifestyle games, the problem is we all overlap with getting similar taste in lifestyle games. And so you end up with like 5 of these lifestyle games when you need like 1 or 2. And that's more of the issue with this game, because if you go over to the Kickstarter page right now, the Kickstarter page, again, is, finishing up, and it's going to break 1 million. It's going to be well over 1 million. I guess I would have guessed much more, to be frank. But again, they just announced the all-in as well. The gameplay all-in is nearly $500, which is a ton, because you're getting a ton of stuff. But as always with these things, if you just get the core pledge and the stretch goals, I think you're going to be very happy, and you're going to have plenty of game play to have and to hold. And again, I think it's going to be great if it's for you. If you want something different, though, if you want just the boss battler, go for the Townsfolk Tussle reprint. If you want KDM, go for KDM, because this will also get you KDM. But this is probably more content than just the core game of KDM is. I know that's diversive, but again, it has more of a narrative. Do you like the narrative? If you don't like the narrative, again, you'd probably be passing. I'm going to be doing a Should You Back, if that could be, again, just right out before this or after this, as the campaign winds down. But it's got a ton of stuff, and people are going to love it, and people are getting in on it. And this amount of money that's raised has been jacked up since the gameplay all-in went in as well. So Into the Unknown is doing really well for their second game, putting out there. So there you go. Next up, Founders of Teotihuacan. I just put it out earlier in the week that this game is a tile-laying Euro-y goodness with some gameplay. I played through half of the game, 2 rounds. So if you want to check that out and you want to see what this game actually looks like in terms of the tile-laying and the aspects comparatively to Teotihuacan, without getting too far away from an aesthetic value as well as a gameplay. I mean, the gameplay stands on its own 2 feet. It's crunchier and heavier than a lot of the other tile-laying games that you have probably ever played. I'll put that out there. The decision making is unique. The decision making is strong, and it's going to, just like on the Euro or the worker placement side of things, where things are slightly heavier, you are not going to be able to achieve half of what you want to achieve, and it's going to make you think. It's going to make you slightly brain burn, but not enough in a bad way to cause analysis paralysis. But it's also easy enough to play and intuitive enough that you can play it with almost anyone. It's just they may not do as well, and they may get a little frustrated by that, but that's okay, because there is a little bit of a learning curve too. So asymmetric board size, so you can do whichever you want on that, as well as just a little bit of difficulty variance. So it works well. There you go. Next up, Ryozen. I'm going to have a video coming out, I think, next week on this. This is the latest worker placement style game. I know, right? I'm branching out a little bit from Tabula Games. It's going on crowdfunding later this month. It's got a very unique aspect of these different zones where, depending on how many spots there are, and what side of the board it is, how tight it is, but then there is a reward that you get when you place your worker there during the daytime, and then when everyone has placed all their workers, there is also an area majority influence that if you have the most area majority at that end, you're not only going to get the bonus for being in that area in the first place, but you're also going to get the one that has the most is going to get an extra bonus. The workers in this game are variable. You're recruiting various workers from one of these sections that you can buy and acquire, and buying and acquiring them is actually also a unique action in the sense that the amount of money it costs you is actually going to be spent as victory points. So if it costs you 3 gold, well, you're going to get 3 victory points. And then there is some take that, which is, again, is going to be a little bit whether or not you like that style, but the take that is actually done in a really nice way, because it's sort of like the Valhalla of Champions of Midgard. When you lose them, they actually go into the center area of the Phoenix Palace, which actually scores you victory points at the end of the round. So you're losing them from one area, but they're just being moved to another area, and you're being compensated for it, which is another unique aspect. I would equate this to something a little bit heavier than, say, I almost combined the two and said Lords of Midgard, but it's Champions of Midgard and Lords of Waterdeep. It's slightly higher than that, but you could easily teach this to people and they could understand it very intuitively as just a slight, not maybe like a full step up, but a nice rung step up. And people are going to be pleasantly surprised and pleased by this one, I think, when it comes to crowdfunding, and they're going to like it because it fits that sort of niche of something slightly, but not also too heavy as well. This was a very interesting game. It got sent to me, Abstract Academy. It's an artistic style, area control-esque, objective meeting abstract game, if that makes a lot of sense. It will in a second. So you have these multicolored cards that are divided into quadrants. Each card is different and they're asymmetric, and you're going to be placing them down on this open free world style board of like King Domino-esque, where you're ultimately creating a 4x4. But the sides aren't defined until someone defines either, the horizontal or the vertical. And so the 2 closest to you are going to be the ones you're scoring on. The 2 closest to your opponent are going to be the ones they're scoring on. But you might start placing them down, and how you place them down is going to affect them. And then you have anywhere from 3 to 4 different objectives in each round that you're going to be trying to achieve with your scoring side, whether that's largest area, largest areas, most amount of a certain color in certain areas. So there's all sorts of these different algorithms that they put out in terms of the objectives here, and you play it over 3 rounds, and the most points collected wins at the end. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. It's a little bit different. There's a lot less control than you might necessarily want to have. There is a little bit more spatial awareness that you have to have in this game, which makes it a little bit more difficult at the same time. But if you like some of the other abstracts like Paris, the City of Lights, if you like that sort of game, it reminds me a little bit of that, only done with just these cards. and it plays really quickly. And the objectives are different enough each time that it's going to not be repetitive as well. So it's a very interesting, unique game. Next up, I played BedEVILLE Carnival. I'll also be having a video out coming up for that, for its crowdfunding campaign. And this is a little bit of a press your luck, sort of moving around a, again, circular sort of board, which again is, you know, the third circular board in this video. The Loop, and then Ryozen, and now this. You're going to be basically going around to these places one by one, and trying to avoid these bad guys that are going to stop you from doing things or knock you off the board altogether to sort of make you get back on, gathering the resources from the center, and then buying the little souvenirs around the inner ring here that are going to each have various conditions and various points that you can be getting. Now, each of the attractions around the outside is going to manipulate things in a slightly different manner, and how you go there and what you do there is going to vary as well. And then at the end of every turn, you're going to be pulling a token from the bag and having a little bit of a random sort of effect that you are just going to have to kind of deal with, which again is an interesting aspect, but it may not be for everyone. So it's going to be intriguing because there's a large number of attractions around the outside here that you can go through, and potentially if you land on the same spot or the bad guy lands the same spot as you, that's how it eliminates one of those attractions. You have to put a new one down, so it constantly changes the game dynamic as you're playing. So there you go. Now this one was, I'm going to have a video coming out this. Board Game Table sent me a copy of Factory Funner from one of their latest crowdfunding campaigns. And this is a masochistic exercise in spatial awareness. And I say that as the most lovingly way that I can, because I think I actually enjoyed it. We looked at the game. We hadn't played it. We read through the rules as we were learning it. And we were like, oh yeah, it says 30 minutes to play. Whoa, that was a brain-burning 30 minutes turned into an hour. And it was our fault more than anything else. But this is going to be a game that either people love or they hate, because there is so much spatial thinking and spatial awareness, and not sticking with what you have and being willing to adapt and change and modify, and doing it on the fly, and even potentially sight unseen with how you're drawing these tiles in a real-time setting. It's going to drive people crazy. At the same time, I can't stop thinking about it after we played it. And I want to play it again to see if I can do any better, because I did horrible. This game reminds me very much of another game which is completely different, as Azul, in the sense that I wasn't very good at putting those tiles over on Azul, but I enjoyed it every time I played it. And as much as it brain burned, and as much as we were like, shouting in frustration, happy frustration at the same time, in the sense that we were all having shared misery, it was something that makes me want to go play it again. And I can't say that about every game that I've played in the past couple months. And so for that, it's definitely, you know, a lot better than I was expecting it to, even in the midst of playing it. So if you're interested in this, I definitely think you need to check it out. Now, this one is one, again, you've never heard of. This is going to have an upcoming crowdfunding campaign. It's by the designer of Mechanical Beast, the other one that I talked about on crowdfunding in 2021, where you're going down as a tile laying, manipulating, twisting game. And this one is, like it says, it's a solo trick-taking game. I have a copy of it right here. And it is unique. It is a little bit random, and there's a little bit of stuff that you just can't control in terms of how you're drawing from just the top of the deck and seeing what happens, essentially. But it's got some amazing elements that I just didn't think you could reproduce as a solo trick-taker, and it works. And it makes you try to use as much tactics and strategy as you can when you're acquiring these kingdoms and having these powers to manipulate your own cards and other people's cards. And so I'm really impressed by this one. And so if you have any interest in card games and solo games, I probably really can't recommend this one highly enough for you to be checking out when it finally does launch. So that's it. Those are the 9 games that I played. I played a few others, like kids games, but I'm not going to talk about those for you guys. You guys aren't interested in those, are you? I mean, we played Sorry, we played Pokemon TCG. You know, we played Pingaloo, the little wooden penguin game, that sort of stuff, which, you know, all of a sudden the kids have gotten into a Pingaloo kick, which is a really great game for kids in general. It's probably the first one I would recommend for any kid of any age. But apart from that, that was about it. You know, I need to get some other stuff played, and I have a bunch of stuff that's just I've picked up or that I have acquired in trades and recently bought that I just need to get to the table. And I'm working on finishing all of my shelf of shame / opportunity for the year of 2022. And, you know, I'm not doing too bad. The problem is I'm getting like 2 or 3 games, you know, well, every 2 weeks right now, from either a review side, from a preview side, or from a Kickstarter backed side. And so that's more of the issue, because I mean, I only had one game night in the last 3 weeks. So, you know, it's either I'm playing by myself, I'm teaching myself solo, or I'm playing with my wife, and the game group is just not getting together. So that was what the most difficult thing is for me. I know you guys probably run into that too, but yeah. So there you go. That's it. Quick, easy, dirty. I don't know why I say dirty every time I do that, but that's it. What did you play? What really stuck out to you this month? You know, clearly the games of the month for me were here at the end. Without a doubt, Regicide. I would even say Factory Funner. And I, you know, again, having played now the Loop expansion is technically a March. Going to be more thoughts on that in my March roundup, but spoilers. There you go. And Kingdoms Forlorn, I mean, it's just something completely different, although it takes elements that you're used to as well. So that was nice. I just can't say enough good things about all these. I mean, like, I have not really played a terrible game. So it's something that just really didn't click well. So it's kind of nice. Last 2 months. That's it. I ramble on at the end. You don't need to hear any of that. You're probably not even watching anymore at this point anyway. But thank you if you are. Have a great day. Stay classy. See you around.